In the northeastern corner of Siberia, there's a small settlement called Oymyakon, home to roughly 500 people, and in January of 1924, a thermometer there recorded a temperature of negative 71.2 degrees Celsius. That's negative 96 degrees Fahrenheit. To put that in perspective, at that temperature, exposed skin can develop frostbite in under 5 minutes, and a cup of boiling water thrown into the air will turn into ice crystals before it hits the ground. And yet, through all of that, through winters that regularly plunge below negative 50, people have lived there continuously, not for a season, not for an experiment, but for generations, raising children, running schools, and going about daily life in conditions that would kill most humans on Earth within hours. This is the story of the coldest inhabited place on the planet, and understanding how anyone survives there reveals something genuinely remarkable about human adaptability. Let's start with why Oymyakon gets this cold in the first place. Because the geography here is almost perfectly engineered for extreme cold. The settlement sits in a valley surrounded by mountains, and this basin shape is crucial to the whole story. Cold, dense air is heavier than warm air, so it sinks in pools in low-lying areas, and the surrounding mountains essentially trap that frigid air in place, preventing it from mixing with anything warmer. This phenomenon is called a temperature inversion, and it turns the valley into something close to a natural freezer, with the coldest, heaviest air settling right where the town happens to be. Combine that with Oymyakon's location deep in the interior of a massive continent, thousands of kilometers from any ocean, and you remove one of the only things that could moderate the temperature. Oceans hold heat and release it slowly, which is why coastal areas rarely experience truly extreme cold. Oymyakon has none of that thermal buffering. It's about as far from any coastline as you can get while still being on solid ground, which means winter arrives with essentially nothing standing between the town and the full, uninterrupted force of Siberian cold. So how do roughly 500 people actually survive this? Not just for a week of brutal weather, but as a permanent way of life. The answer isn't a single clever trick. It's an entire interconnected system of adaptations that touches literally every part of daily existence. Start with something most people never think about: cars. In Oymyakon, vehicles are essentially never turned off during winter. Not overnight, not while running errands, not ever, because starting a frozen engine in negative 60-degree temperatures is often physically impossible. The oil inside becomes thick as tar, metal contracts and seizes, and rubber components can crack like glass. So residents leave engines idling continuously for months at a time, sometimes literally parking their car with the engine running outside a shop while they go in for 10 minutes, because turning it off means potentially not being able to restart it until spring. The same logic extends to plumbing and infrastructure. Standard underground water pipes would freeze solid and shatter in this climate, so many buildings rely on above-ground, heavily insulated pipe systems, sometimes running through heated conduits, specifically designed to prevent freezing in temperatures that would turn a normal water pipe into a solid block of ice within minutes of losing power. Food storage flips entirely too. Instead of refrigerators keeping things cold, many households essentially use the outdoors as a natural freezer, and the actual engineering challenge becomes keeping certain foods from freezing solid when you don't want them to. Root cellars and specially insulated storage areas are used to keep some supplies at a survivable temperature, while other food is deliberately left outside to freeze completely, since natural refrigeration here is more reliable than anything electrical. Then there's the human body itself, and this is where things get genuinely fascinating from a biological standpoint. Generations of exposure to this environment appear to have selected for physiological adaptations that help residents handle cold more efficiently than populations from milder climates. Research on populations native to extremely cold environments has found evidence of enhanced cold tolerance mechanisms, including differences in how effectively their bodies generate and retain heat, and metabolic adaptations that allow for more efficient energy use in sustained cold conditions. This isn't just cultural toughness. There appear to be genuine physiological differences shaped by generations of survival in one of the harshest climates on the planet. Clothing in Oymyakon operates less like fashion and more like essential survival engineering. Traditional reindeer hide clothing remains critical, not because it's traditional for tradition's sake, but because reindeer fur has exceptional insulating properties that modern synthetic materials still struggle to match in this specific temperature range. Multiple layers, specific fur combinations, and construction techniques passed down through generations aren't aesthetic choices. They're calibrated survival technology, refined over centuries of trial and error against literally the harshest possible testing conditions. Even something as simple as eyeglasses becomes a genuine engineering problem. Standard metal-framed glasses can actually freeze to a person's skin on contact in extreme cold, so specialized frames and materials are needed. Eyelashes can freeze together simply from blinking in extremely cold air, which is a small but telling detail about just how aggressively hostile the environment is to ordinary human biology functioning normally. Diet plays a critical, calculated role as well. Traditional foods in the region are extremely high in fat and protein, primarily from reindeer meat, horse meat, and fish, and this isn't simply cultural preference, it's functional necessity. Generating enough internal body heat to survive these temperatures requires significantly more caloric intake than someone living in a temperate climate would need, and fat in particular provides the sustained, slow-burning energy required to keep the body's internal furnace running through months of extreme cold. Even something as basic as breathing changes here. In extreme cold, breathing through your mouth can genuinely damage lung tissue from the sheer temperature shock of frigid air entering unfiltered and unwarmed. Locals learn, often from early childhood, specific breathing techniques and behaviors, essentially always breathing through the nose to allow air to warm slightly before reaching the lungs, a habit that becomes so automatic it stops feeling like a conscious adaptation at all. What makes Oymyakon genuinely remarkable isn't just the raw temperature record, impressive as that is, it's the fact that an entire functioning human community, with schools, a hospital, local government, and multi-generational family life, has built itself around permanently and successfully adapting to conditions that would be immediately lethal to an unprepared person within hours. Every single piece of daily infrastructure, transportation, plumbing, food storage, clothing, even the specific way people breathe, has been shaped and refined by this environment into a genuinely sophisticated survival system that most people would never even think to develop, because most people will thankfully never need to. So the next time you complain about a cold morning making it hard to get out of bed, it's worth remembering that there's a town in Siberia where people wake up in temperatures that would turn your exposed skin into frostbite within minutes, where they'll start their car that's already been running all night, drive their kids to school through air cold enough to freeze their eyelashes shut mid-blink, and go about an entirely ordinary day. Human adaptability has quietly built an entire functioning civilization in one of the most inhospitable environments on the planet, and it's done it so thoroughly that for the people who live there, it doesn't even feel extreme anymore. It just feels like home.